Good evening to one and all. Welcome you all to the daily current affairs session brought to you by Ganesh IAS Academy for the date 11th August 2023 for the news which came in Indian Express newspaper. Okay, let's get straight into the today's current affairs analysis. The chief election commissioner as well as election commission election commissioners bill is brought up in Rajya Sabha. That is, this was the the article is related to the bill which was introduced in Rajya Sabha. So let's discuss how it has overturned the Supreme Court order and what are all the important provisions being provided under the bill which was tabled in Rajya Sabha. Okay, the chief election, what the news, the article has said is the chief election commissioner as well as the other election commissioner bill 2023 was introduced in Rajya Sabha to overturn the Supreme Court verdict. It seeks to establish a committee of Prime Minister as well as leader of opposition and the Union Cabinet Minister who will be nominated by the Prime Minister. But in the case of the Supreme Court judgment, what the Supreme Court has said is that in order to appoint the Chief Election Commissioner as well as other election commissioners, there need to be a select committee which shall comprise of members of Prime Minister, Chief Justice of India and then the leader of opposition party in the Lok Sabha. So this was the temporary appointment committee which was introduced by Supreme Court. But this bill has overturned the Supreme Court's committee which was formed to appoint the Chief Election Commissioner as well as election commissioners. How it has changed the committees which was formed by the Supreme Court is only one change, because it is the bill has introduced a third member called Cabinet Minister who will be appointed by or nominated by the Prime Minister of India. But in the case of Supreme Court judgment, it is the third member would be the Chief Justice of India. So this bill has diluted the committee formed by the Supreme Court of India. Previously, the Supreme Court has ruled that, as I have said, that a high-powered committee formed by the three members to appoint the chief election commissioners as well as election commissioners. So let's look into what the Article 324, Clause 2 of the Constitution says. The election commission shall consist of chief election commissioner and such number of other election commissioner, if any, the president from time to time may fix, and the appointment of the chief election commissioner as well as the other election commissioner shall this was the vacuum which was filled temporarily by the Supreme Court, shall subject to provision of the law made in this behalf by the Parliament. So who will be appointed by the President. This law has not been there till now. So there was a legislature vacuum to appoint Chief Election Commissioner as well as Election Commission and then other election commissioners of India. So to overcome the legislative vacuum, the Supreme Court stepped into it. So they used their Article 142 power to provide complete justice. So they have introduced a committee where three members will be there. They will be appointing the Chief Election Commissioner as well as the Election Commission. So right now the bill has been introduced to overturn the Supreme Court judgment and also to avoid the legislature vacuum which was there till now. so that a process will be created to appoint a chief election commissioner and the other election commissioners to the Election Commission of India, so that the process which was till now suffered from the lack of transparency, after the introduction of this bill will ensure that some kind of transparency will be followed in the appointment of those important posts, which is through which the democracy of India, wheels of democracy of India will be spinning. Okay, what was the procedure that was followed before the introduction of the bill is that before the introduction of the bill, law minister will be having a certain database. In that database, the database will contain the secretary to the government, list of people who are secretary to government of India, as well as the retired IAS officer or bureaucrats who worked as secretary to the government of India, and he will be that the law minister will be selecting some 5 present secretary or the retired secretaries to government of India, and he will be recommending those 5 names to the Prime Minister of India, and the Prime Minister from the pool of 5 secretaries, he will be selecting any one member as the Chief Election Commissioner, and he will be recommending it to the President of India, and based upon the recommendation, the Chief Election Commissioner will be appointed by the President. So this was the procedure that was followed before the bill. So after the introduction of bill, if the bill is passed, means how the procedure will be changed is that a search committee will be appointed. In that search committee, the cabinet secretary will be heading it, and it will consist of 2 other members who will not be below the rank of secretary to government of India, and also those additional members need to have some knowledge as well as some experience in relation to the elections in India. So they will be selecting a pool of 5 members, and they will be recommending it to the selection committee. The search committee headed by this cabinet secretary along with the 2 members will be selecting a pool of 5 members for the post of election commissioners as well as chief election commissioners, and he will be recommending the 5-member panel to the select committee, and the select committee will comprise of 3 members. As I said initially, Prime Minister, who will be the chairperson of the select committee, the leader of the opposition in the Lok Sabha, and the union minister who will be appointed by the Prime Minister will be discussing, and they will be come out with one name, and he will be appointed as Chief Election Commissioner of India. So let's discuss about what is the Election Commission of India is about, and how the multi-member body, how the single member Election Commission of India has transformed itself into the multi-member Election Commission of India. We will look into it in the upcoming slide. Okay, the Election Commission of India established in accordance with the Constitution on the date 25th January 1950. This and it is the autonomous constitutional body because its structure, function as well as formation, it's provided in the Constitution itself. So it is a constitutional body, and it is responsible for administering the unions as well as the state elections and the other elections like presidents as well as vice president, and then the elections to Rajya Sabha, and then the election to state legislature council will be conducted by the Election Commission of India. But it will not conduct election in relation to urban as well as rural local bodies, which will be conducted by State Election Commission, which was introduced in 73rd as well as 74th Amendment Act into the Constitution. So how was the single member, when was the single member election commission was changed to multi-member election commissioner is during 1989. Until then it was only the chief election commissioner who will be responsible for superintending as well as conducting the elections in India. And during 1989, the single member election commission was transformed itself into the multi-member, that is one chief election commissioner and 2 election commissioners was appointed to superintend as well as conduct the overall election in India as well as in the state. But the tenure was very shortened because during 1990 the tenure got over, all the 3 people's tenure got over, and again during the period of 1990 to 1993 it became the single member body. The chief election commissioner was the superintending as well as conducting the elections to center as well as the state. But after 1993 it again transformed itself into the multi-member body, that is chief election commissioner and 2 other election commissioners, and they will be responsible for conducting elections across the states and as well as the center, and these 3 members, the decision will be based upon the majority vote. So out of 3 members, if the decision needed to get passed means at least 2 members needed to form a consensus. So this was the details in relation to the news which we have seen in the previous slides. So what we needed to know so that the peripheral areas of the news could be covered is, we should know about other constitutional bodies in India. What are their articles, what are their structures, functions and their objectives. These are all the things which we needed to know. Second is, we should know about what is National Voter Day. The National Voter Days will be celebrated each year during 25th January, the date in which the first Election Commission of India was formed in 1950. So that date was celebrated as National Voters Day, and we should know what is this year's theme is about. Third is, we should know about Representative of People Act 1950 as well as 51, through which it regulates the conduct of the participants in the election. The fourth is, we should know about the State Election Commission. The State Election Commission, as I said, has been introduced in Constitution of India in 73rd as well as 74th Amendment Act. So we have to know the State Election Commission, its roles, responsibilities as well as function and the structures, how their members are getting appointed, and if they are having any security of tenure, we should also be aware of it. Okay, let's discuss about the previous year prelims question which was asked in relation to the news which we have seen now. Consider the following statement. The Election Commission of India is a 5-member body. No. As I have said, it is the 3-member body. The Union Ministry of Home Affairs decides the election schedule for the conduct of both general as well as by-elections in India. Yes, the statement is correct, because the Union Home Minister is the deciding authority to schedule the elections in India. Third is, Election Commission resolves the dispute relating to splits, mergers of the recognized political party. Yes, if the aggrieved political party, if there is any kind of defection like activities is taking place within the party means, then the corresponding section will be approaching the first they will be approaching the Election Commission only to resolve the dispute that was happening between the 2 factions of the same party. So if the judgment, if the solution given by the Election Commission is not satisfied, is not any, அது வந்து ஒரு தரப்புக்கு வந்து அது ஒத்து போகல அப்படினா they could appeal to the High Court and then to Supreme Court, so on, which then so The third statement is also correct. So answer is option C, 2 and 3. Okay, UPSC mains question. To enhance the quality of democracy in India, the Election Commission of India has proposed electoral reforms in 2016. What are the suggested reforms and how are they significant to make democracy successful? 15-mark question. So I want those students, those who are watching the current affairs session online, please do comment answer point for the question which you are seeing right now on the board. Another news is, with inflation set to remain above 5%, the rate cut unlikely this fiscal. So right now the Monetary Policy Committee meeting was concluded just recently, and they have maintained the same repo rate which they have set in the previous monetary policy meeting. The reason what they have said is, the inflation will be remaining above 5% till the first quarter of 2024-25 period. So there is no need to reduce the rate cut because the inflation will be elevated for some period of time. So right now there is no need for rate cut. And also at the same time, RBI has announced incremental cash reserve ratio to remove the excess amount that is present in the banking system. So this is what the news is related to. So all these activities will be focused upon only one major thing. What is that? Is RBI wanted to control inflation within the tolerable rate, that is 2 to 6%. So that is what their action is that is what the RBI's action aims about. So okay, let's look into what does the RBI Monetary Policy Committee is about, because the news revolves around the meeting of RBI Monetary Policy Committee and the setting of rate to manage the inflation in India. So let's discuss about what does the RBI Monetary Policy Committee is about. It is a 6-member body that decides the key policy rate. It was set up in 2016 as a result of the agreement between RBI and the Government of India to ensure that the transparency and accountability in conducting the monetary policy is maintained. Okay, the committee will come, as I said, the committee will be consist of 6 members. The 3 members will be from RBI and the 3 members will be appointed by the central government, and these 3 members will have a tenure of 4 years and they will not get appointed. There is no reappointment for the 3 external members who was appointed by the central government. So RBI will be meeting at least four times in a year, and they could meet whenever there is the necessary. So it is not a strict rule that they should be meeting at least every rigid rule that they should be meeting at 4 times in a year. They could meet whenever there is a need arises. Like now they are meeting at least within 2 months once. That is 2 months once means they are right now meeting 6 times per year, because as we all know, we are in the phase of post pandemic era. So right now things are getting settling, as well as the economy is is in the path of the pickup. So they needed to monitor the economy so that there won't be any kind of hustle that takes place because of the increased global as well as the domestic inflation. So right now the RBI is monitoring the inflation situation across the world as well as in India very closely, so that because of which they are right now meeting regularly within at least 2 months once. So RBI has set a repo rate of 6.5%. Let's discuss about what does the repo rate is about and what impact that it creates in the currency situation in India. What is repo rate? It is the rate short term rate at which the commercial bank borrows from RBI by mortgaging their securities, dated government securities as well as treasury bills. If the repo rate has been increased means bank will be having two options. That is, they will either reduce the borrowing from RBI or borrow at higher rate from the RBI. So this is the two option that is available to the bank. So this is RBI. The first option is, and this is bank, and this is the customer. If the bank, because of high interest rate, is hesitating to borrow money from RBI means there will be low liquid in the system, banking system. As a result of low liquidity in the banking system, the banks will have lesser liquidity, so that they could not disperse more credit to the customer, as a result of which the money supply in the economy will get reduced. And if the money supply is getting reduced means the inflation automatically will get reduced. This is what the theoretical logic behind the increasing of repo rate is about. And then another option which is available to the bank is that if the RBI is increased the repo rate means, and if the bank requires the credit liquid means, that is the cash means, they will be borrowing at the increased rate, and they will be, if they wanted to give the credit to the customer means, and along with the increased rate which they have borrowed from RBI, they will be adding their operational as well as profit rate, so that the customer which is taking the customer who is taking the credit from the bank will needed to pay the higher amount of interest rate, as a result of which the customer will hesitate to buy the credit which has high interest rate. So the hesitancy in the customer will make him to not avail the credit from the bank, as a result of which the credit flow again in the economic system will get reduced, and as a result of which the money flow will get reduced. As a result, then there will be less cash with the people, there will be less demand by the people. So if there is a less demand means automatically the prices of the products will get come down. This is what the logic behind the increase in the repo rate is about. And this is what the idea behind increasing the repo rate whenever there is the rise in the inflation. Okay, what does the reverse repo rate is about? It is the other way around. That is, the RBI will be borrowing money from commercial bank by pledging their government securities as well as treasury bills. And with the use of reverse repo rate, the RBI will be controlling the money supply in the economy. How they will be controlling is that if the reverse repo rate is increased means, then the bank will have again two options, either to lend to RBI or lend to the customer at the higher rate, because RBI itself is giving higher rate to the bank if the bank is ready to provide money to them. So if the bank is not, at the end of the day, bank is the commercial bank only, because they will be sustained only if they earn profit. So if they wanted to cut the deal with the RBI and they wanted to give the credit to customer means, what the bank wanted to have is that they wanted to have the higher amount of interest rate which the RBI has given, because ஒன்னை விட்டுட்டு இன்னொன்னுக்கு நம்ம போகும்போது ஒரு கமர்ஷியல் ரீதியான ஒரு நிறுவனம் வந்துட்டு இப்போ அதுலயே ஃபார் எக்ஸாம்பிள் I will explain you the example. For example, this is RBI and the RBI is increase the reverse repo rate. For example, The initial reverse repo rate was 3%, and right now it has been increased to 6% means, and if the bank is giving credit to RBI means it will be earning a 6% interest rate, which is double the interest rate which it was earning the previous day. So what the commercial banks, most of the commercial banks will be doing is that they will be lending it to the RBI, because the RBI gives interest rate which is double the amount which is provided, which it was giving the day before yesterday or yesterday. So if the bank is neglecting the deal with RBI and it wanted to provide the loan to customer means, it will ensure that at least the same 6% will be levied on the customer, or more than the 6%, not less than the 6%. So we could able to see that by increasing the reverse repo rate, the bank will either lend to the RBI or it will be lending it to the customer. If it is lending it to the RBI means the bank will have lesser amount of money to dispose it to the customers. So lesser amount of money to dispose to the customer means there will be lesser amount of cash flow in the economy. Lesser amount of the cash flow in the economy will lead to lesser inflation, and if it is other way around means, if the bank does not want to lend it to RBI, even if the RBI is providing the higher interest rate means, and it wanted to lend it to the customer means, it will be lending at the minimum interest rate it will be lending to the customer at minimum interest rate which was provided by the RBI, or more than the interest rate which was provided by the RBI, not less than the 6%. So the customer will feel hesitant to borrow the credit from the bank at the higher interest rate. So he will not be borrowing the money from the bank. So as a result of which, again the cash flow in the economy will get reduced. Then the demand will get reduced, as a result of which the price of the products will also get reduced. This is what the logic behind increasing the reverse repo rate, to control the inflation in the economy. Okay, let's discuss about what is the cash reserve ratio, which right now temporarily increased by RBI to 10% to flush out the excess money that is present in the banking system. The scheduled banks are required to keep certain percentage of their net time and demand positive net time as well as demand deposit with RBI under the RBI Act. The aim is to have the control over the bank credit. So if the, for example, right now the RBI has fixed the cash reserve ratio at 10%. So if the cash reserve ratio is set at 10% means, then the bank needed to set aside the 10% of the total net time and demand deposit to the RBI. For this, the bank will not be earning any kind of interest rate. So they will, why they wanted to have the certain percentage of money with as the reserve with the central bank is that whenever there is the binding up operation or there is a distress situation that is prevailing in the bank, this money will be useful for the bank to come back on the track. So this is what the reason, this is what the one of the objective. What is the other objective is that the higher percentage of cash reserve ratio will enable the banking system to have lesser amount of money. So if the banking system is having lesser amount of money means they will be having lesser credit amount to credit to the customer. So as a result of which the money supply will again come down, then the inflation will get come down. This is what the logic behind increasing the cash reserve ratio by RBI. And we should note that there won't be interest. There is no interest from the cash reserve ratio for the bank. And in the case of statutory liquidity ratio, there will be some earning in the form of interest rate by the bank will happen. But in the case of a cash reserve ratio, it will not happen. The bank needed to set aside the percentage prescribed by the RBI with RBI. So what we needed to study further is we should know about what is the statutory liquidity ratio of about. Second is we should know about RBI Act 1934. Then we should know about Banking Regulation Act 1949. Then we should know about what does marginal standing facility and market stabilization scheme is about. So these are all the other periphery areas which we needed to be aware of. Okay, let's discuss about the UPSC prelims question which was asked in relation to the news which we have seen the previous slide. Which of the following statements are correct regarding the Monetary Policy Committee? It decides the RBI's benchmark interest rate. Yes, the statement 1 is correct. They will be deciding the interest rate. Okay. It is a 12-member body including governor of RBI and it's reconstituted every year. As I said, it is a 6-member body and those people who are external members will be having a tenure of 4 years. So the statement 2 is wrong. It functions under the chairmanship of Union Finance Minister. This is also wrong. RBI governor is the chairperson for it. So answer is A, 1 only. Do you agree with the view that steady GDP growth and low inflation has left the Indian economy in good shape? Give reason in support of your argument. So please do comment answer point for the question which you are seeing right now on the board. Biden issues order to block US investment in Chinese technology. So right now US has passed the executive order to block or reduce the US investment in the Chinese technology. What is the reason? The US has said is that the main reason is not the economic criteria, it is the national security criteria. How it has impacted the national security is that the US said that the China has exploited US investment to support their own military purposes. So that is the reason why they are using the US investment to enhance their military capabilities without knowing to the US itself. So this is what the reason being quoted by the US to curb the US investment in the Chinese technologies. Okay, let's discuss about what is the reason behind the US-China trade war. The trade war is a situation where countries restrict each other's trade by either imposing a tariff or quota on the product which was imported or exported. So it was initially started by US. US wanted to impose some curb in the trade relation with the China. Why it has imposed a curb and China has retaliated with the same amount of curbs. For example, if the US has restricted $25 billion of the trade means of the export to China or import from the China means, then China will be retaliating with the same amount of curbing in export as well as import from the US. The first reason is what US has said is that China is violating the intellectual property right, and they are copycatting every product that was produced by the America. And then Chinese government is having certain restriction in US investment in their country. This is the second reason. Third is US is having higher trade deficit with China. Then to overcome the trade deficit, they are curbing the import from the China. And then by highly subsidizing their local domestic company, they have disrupted the global trade relation. So these are all the reasons quoted by the US to regulate or curb the import as well as export with the China. So how this import this trade-off will have impact to India is that trade war means curbing the trade related activity between two giants. So whenever there is the curb in the trade related activity between the two giants, it will have the ripple effect across the global economy, and it will slow down the global economy, as a result of which Indian economy will face a slowdown, because we are also part of the global village. After globalization, every country is the part of the global village. So the slowing down of the growth means the domestic production in India will get reduced, and if the domestic production in India is getting reduced, means there will be higher amount of import, and if the higher amount of import is taking place in India, means we needed to pay in the form of dollar. So dollar will get strengthened, our own currency will get depreciated. So the one main reason is economic slowdown. Another main impact will be rupee depreciation. Then there will be a threat to our energy security, because we are right now importing 80% of our oil need from Gulf countries. So if the global economy is getting slowed down, means automatically the oil required for production will also get reduced, as a result of which the oil producing company will reduce their oil production. So there will be less supply of oil across the world. So but the demand will be the same. So when the production has decreased with the same amount of the demand, if the production has decreased but the demand has not been decreased, means then surely there will be increase in the price rise. The global because of the scarcity of the oil, there will be increase in price rise, and which will heavily affect the India's import bill, and it will lead to again imported inflation. So it will have a severe threat to our energy security itself. These are all the negative implications in relation to the trade war. What are all the positive implications is that right now US wanted to curb the trade activity with China, and it wanted to have the alternate market in the Asian region. So India, with its giant market power, could able to act as the replacement for China for the US. And in the case of China, it wanted to curb the economic trade related activity with the US, and it wanted to find the replacement for US. So India could also act as the replacement for US to China, and it is vice versa, and India could act as the replacement for China to US if the opportunity has been grabbed by India with the proper regulatory as well as governance mechanism. So this will be the positive impact in the case of trade war, because for example, China is importing soybean from the US. If the US is placing some restriction on the export as well as import, China will search for other alternative country to import its soybean, so which India could be able to export. Then so this is what the positives as well as negatives in relation to trade war with India. And this is what the positive as well as negative implication of the trade war for India. So what we needed to study further is, we should know about World Trade Organization and their structure, function, as well as their right now what is their current status in terms of implementing their own policy. So second is, we should know about what is anti-dumping duty as well as countervailing duty. Third is, we should know about WIPO, World Intellectual Property Organization. These are all the other areas which we needed to be aware. So let's have a look into the UPSC mains question. USA is facing an existential threat in the form of China that is much more challenging than the erstwhile Soviet Union. Explain. 10 mark question. The points which we have discussed in the previous slide could be utilized for the this mains answers also. Disclaimer must for endorsing health products, government. What is the news is related to is the celebrities or health expert or the fitness expert, those who are endorsing a product, a health product in the online means, then those persons needed to have a disclaimer at the bottom of the advertisement. That is, their what the disclaimer should be is that they needed to dispose their certified they need to dispose their certificate in the bottom of the advertisement in which they are advertising the particular product, in which they are advertising a particular product to the customers. And if they are not following it means they will be penalized under the Consumer Protection Act 2019, and the guideline was issued as the part of prevention of misleading and prevention of misleading advertisement 2022. So this is what the content of the news is, that is they wanted to show their health or fitness or whichever the product they are selling, their expertized certificate, so that only the product could be, so those person who are certified in the those who are certified in the health or the product which they are endorsing or influencing the people to consume, such persons will only be allowed to endorse the products. Other person, those who are not expert in such area, will not be permitted to endorse the product. And if they are doing it means, if the person who is not certified and is endorsing the particular product to the customer means, then he will be penalized under Consumer Protection Act 2019. So what does the Consumer Protection Act 2019 says? It defines consumer as the person who buys a goods or service for a consideration, and it does not include those persons who are buying it for the commercial purpose, and it covers transaction across all mode, either through online or offline or any other electronic mode, and it provides certain rights to the customers. What is the right is that the customer has right to be protected against marketing of goods and services which are very hazardous to their life and property, and they needed to be informed about the quality, quantity, potency, purity, standard and price of the goods and services. Then another right is a customer must be assured of access to variety of goods or services at a competitive price. Then customer have the right to seek grievance redressal against the unfair or restrictive trade practices that is prevailing across the country. So under the act, the Central Consumer Protection Authority was formed. The Central Protection Authority will set up, the government will set up a Central Consumer Protection Authority to promote, protect and enforce the rights of the consumers, which we have seen in the previous slides, and it will regulate the matters related to violation of consumer rights, unfair trade practices and misleading advertisements. It will have an investigation wing headed by Director General, which conducts inquiry or investigation into such violations. And what is the penalty for the misleading advertisement is that if a company or individual is misleading the consumer by fake advertisement means he will be given a punitive sentence for 2 years and also a fine of 10 lakh. And if a particular person or organization is repeating the offense means, they will be fined up to 50 lakhs and will be sentenced to a maximum 5 years of jail. And then the Consumer Protection Act 2019 provides Consumer Dispute Redressal Commission. It will be set up at 3 stages, that is district, state as well as national stages. And the consumer can file a complaint at the district stage, district redressal commission, and if he is not satisfied with the decision, means he could appeal to state dispute redressal commission, and again if he is not satisfied with the decision, means he could reappeal to the national dispute redressal commission, and even after that he is not happy with the decision, means he could appeal to the court, that is Supreme Court of India. So these are all the stages of dispute redressal mechanism that was created under Consumer Protection Act 2019. And what is the criteria under which a person can approach the corresponding dispute redressal commission? Are if the case is involving 1 crore or lesser amount of money, means then those person can approach dispute redressal commission, and if it is more than 1 crore, means he could not able to file a complaint in dispute redressal commission. And if the value of the dispute is between 1 crore and 10 crore, means he needed to file a complaint in state dispute redressal commission, and if it is more than 10 crore, means then surely he needed to file a case in the national dispute redressal commission. So these are all the criteria for filing the cases in the corresponding redressal commissions. So the Consumer Protection Act defines the product liability. The product liability means the liability of the product manufactured by the manufacturer or the service provided by the service provider to compensate for any kind of harm or injury that has been happened to the consumer by consuming his good or services. So the liability will be belonging to the producers. Either he could be a good producer as well as the service producer. So what we needed to study further is we should know about the Competitive Commission of India, its structure, function, as well as the current status of the Competitive Commission, how it is performing, their analysis. Second is we should know about Food Safety Standard Authority of India, under which ministry it is coming, and what are all the objective under which it is formed, we should be knowing about it. Third is we should know about Advertising Standard Council of India. Fourth is we should know about Ministry of Ayush. So these are all the other peripheral areas which we needed to be aware of. So let's discuss about UPSC prelims question which was asked in relation to the news which we have seen right now. With reference to consumer rights privilege under the provision of the law in India, which one of the following statements are correct? Consumers are empowered to take samples for food testing. Yes, the statement is correct. The consumer can take the sample for food testing. When a consumer files a complaint in any consumer forum, no fees is required to be paid. No, this is wrong. There is a minimum charge. There is a minimum fees that needed to be paid by the consumers to file a complaint in any grievance redressal mechanism. So statement 2 is wrong, and the fees will be revised periodically. In case of death of the consumer, his or her legal heir can file a complaint in consumer forum on his or her behalf. The third statement is also correct. So answer is option C, 1 and 3. The third statement is self-explanatory. There is no need to explain because after the death, the person will not be there. It is only the legal heir holds the right or responsibility to appeal to fight for the justice. Okay, Chinese sponge city. Right now, we all know that the Chinese cities have been flooded because of heavy rain. So, because of the heavy rain in the Chinese cities, the China is right now facing urban flood in the major cities, and this raises the concern relation to the effectiveness of sponge city, which was implemented by China to reduce the destruction of the urban flooding in cities. So, what is the sponge city is about? It was the initiative which was launched by Chinese company, Chinese country in 2015 to boost the flood resilience capacity of the city. So how they will be raising their flood resilience in the city is that by using architectural, engineering and infrastructure innovations to how will they be enhancing the flood resilience is that is through architectural, engineering, then infrastructural tweaking. Through infrastructural tweaking, they wanted to change the entire infrastructure of the city so that it could able to withstand the urban flooding. So this is the reason why a concept called sponge city was introduced in 2015 by China. But right now the implementation lacks because of there is a lack of statutory mechanism, and then there is lag in the implementation. Because of this reason, the sponge city program is not implemented properly. So right now the Chinese cities are facing flood. And why the Chinese city has gone for sponge city is that why the cities are why the city main reason why the cities are facing floods is because of the concretization of the urban areas. So because of concretizing the urban areas, the rainwater which is flowing in the region is not permeable, as a result of which it is getting flooded. Then the main second reason is the increased population in the Chinese city. Because of the increase in population, the spaces that is required for the person to live is getting shrinked, as a result of which more number of people are getting concentrated in the lesser area. So there is no lesser space for the water to get drained down, and as a result of which even if the rainfall is very minimum, there is flood in the cities. So impermeable concrete and population are the major reason for urban flooding. These points could be used as the stock point for India's urban flooding itself. So this is the things. This is the other apart from the news. These are the other details which we needed to be know. So as I have explained the initiative, there is no legal legislation, as well as there is a lag in implementation by the implementing authority. So what are all the other things which we needed to study is we should know about the landslide and different types of landslide and causes of landslide in particular area. Second is we should know about the monsoon climate. Third is we should know about the rainwater harvesting. Fourth is we should know about the watershed and the river basin. So these are all the other things which we needed to be know. Because one of the major reason for the one of the impact that the urban flood is creating is that a landslide in the ecologically sensitive area. Second is the urban flood happens because of the rainfall. So if you are studying rainfall means, then surely we need to study monsoon. So that is why we needed to study, apart from the news, what does the monsoon is about. And then to reduce the urban flooding, rainwater harvesting is the one of the important requirement to solve the problem of rainwater harvesting. Third is the watershed, because of the increasing concretization as well as increasing population in the city, the watershed of the particular river area is getting highly occupied by the persons, or the areas are getting transformed into other purpose which is not meant for. So this is the other. So that is why we needed to know these things. So let's discuss about the UPSC mains question which we have seen right now, which was asked in the mains question in relation to the news which we have seen right now on the board. The ideal solution of depleting groundwater resource in India is water harvesting system. How can it be made effective in urban areas? 15-mark question. So please do comment answer point for the question which you are seeing, students, right now on the board. So we have reached the end of this session. Please do like, comment, share, as well as subscribe to the Ganesh IAS YouTube channel, so that we could able to receive a notification related to the daily current affair news and any other important news that will be brought to you in the future by the Ganesh IAS Academy. Thank you.